Foamfoot 420 is in here. Hello, Foamfoot 420. And there it is. Or not. Steve Duraco, good morning. Steve Duraco, the original rock. Pendejo, welcome in. Stayed up late for that national championship game. I'm feeling it this morning. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. Anthony Del Toro, welcome in. Chris Gonzalez. Good morning, Chris. Here we come.
Now, Chris Duel.
Trying to figure out how you're doing this. Are you going right into it? Are you going right into this song? How does this work?
I know. I was going to hit it once you intro her.
Oh. I get it. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show. I'm Chris Duel. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. Baylor is your NCAA men's champion, the first champion in the state of Texas for the men's title since Texas Western in 1966. But the big news on this show is
we are war. We are war with terrorism, racism.
she is back, ladies and gentlemen. After a long absence, seemed long to us, from beautiful downtown Austin, Texas. Or maybe not exactly downtown, kind of sort of downtown almost.
We call it downtown.
Good enough. There she is. And she is on video right now. You haven't seen her in a long time as we stream live video. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, welcome back.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to be back. Oh, my gosh, you guys. I've never been so happy to wake up this early in the morning. I've never been so happy to do it. So happy to be here. Did I miss anything? What did I miss?
Nah, not much.
Nothing ever happens when
Not
someone's
much
gone.
happened in the world of sports. No.
Except I was right.
You were.
Shaka gone. Chris Bearden. You all thought I was crazy.
Shaka gone, Chris Bearden, and you had Baylor to win it all on your bracket.
I sure did.
So
And I'm here to tell you all about it today because y'all need to listen to me. Y'all thought I was crazy, but here we are. April 6th, Chris Beard is your head coach of the University of Texas, and Waco is somehow probably still up at this hour celebrating their national championship victory over the Zags, who looked like puppies last night.
man,
Compared to the Bears, who just came in firing from the jump. I mean, there was nothing the Zags could do, and they knew it.
who saw that beat down coming? My goodness.
I thought it would be at least close because they've been 1-2 all year.
Yeah, me too.
And it's the game everyone's been waiting for, and that's kind of what you want in the you want that UCLA Gonzaga game for
Mhm.
your national championship.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I turned it off halfway through the second half because
I stayed the whole. It was the national championship. It was.
you had to watch that one shining moment. Didn't
Yeah, I
you?
had to watch one shining moment. I say again.
Did you get a tear? A little tear in your eye?
A minor tear. Yeah, it kind of gets me. You know what gave me more tears? I think I finally burned out on the Lily commercials for AT&T.
I saw you.
You know, I mean, yeah, she's funny, she's cute, and the first 10,000 times, I kind of liked those commercials, but once we moved into like 15, 17,000 times, I just finally I was like, all right, Lily, I get it. Yeah.
So here's my thing. She like produces and directs
True.
most of those. So I think that's fantastic
I do too.
for her. Also, the AT&T, also like the Wendy's, like I got tired of those Wendy's commercials too. I mean,
Yeah.
those were like the two major sponsors of this tournament. So I think
Yeah.
we will see less of them in the future.
Little burnout. Just
But
and again, they're good
Commercials are
commercials.
real.
She's great. I'm not slamming her. She's very talented. She's funny. I think she'd be great in a sitcom, I think, but I just finally I'm going, man, I don't know. But no, yeah, I did stay up, so I am a little tired. I am guzzling the caffeine, but congratulations, Baylor. And you know, you weren't in the last few shows. I was just the whole Drew Timmy thing for Gonzaga and flexing his muscle. I'm all bad. I'm Drew. It just started to wear thin on me, and I think a lesson before you and you know some of the other people on that team, before you count your chickens and act as if you are the undefeated national champions, you should go out and win the damn thing first. I think they got a little too cocky too early, and I think maybe that was a little part of it. Plus Baylor just showing up to play some basketball. It was, you know, I know a lot of our listeners are Longhorns fans. I'm sure there's some Baylor Bears fans listening.
Sure.
Austin, San Antonio, up and down I-35 and around the world on the iHeartRadio app, and as we stream live video on Facebook. But I get very territorial and tribal and nationalistic about the state of Texas when Texas is taking on somebody else. So it was certainly a great win for Baylor, but I think it was kind of cool for the state of Texas as well.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, you know, have some feelings towards the Baylor basketball program, as they do with the football program because of their past. But the kids that are on this team have absolutely nothing to do with anything that may or may not have happened with that program in the past. And Drew Scott just, I mean, from where he started to where they are now, I mean, you talk about expectations. Winning a national title was not one of them, and for them to play like they
although if you'd have stayed up, they played right at the end, moments before the game ended. They played Scott Drew's initial hiring statement at the podium when that program was in shambles and coming off a murder, and he said, "I'm here to bring a national championship to Baylor."
Not
so good on him.
Doesn't every coach come to wherever they're coaching to win a championship?
When you do it and they can replay your press conference, then I think it goes beyond coach speak.
Do they have to give him like a Bill Self contract now, where he's just on there for life with a rolling year added after every year?
I think so. I mean, you did it.
Go now.
Say again?
How do you let him go now?
You don't.
When you're especially when you're in Waco and you know.
Yeah.
It's not like the place to be.
Well, and you brought up Chris Beard, and well, you know, you were out last week, so we'll certainly talk some Chris Beard today with you as well, Shannon. But I think, and if you're a Longhorn fan, I think you should like this as well. I think Baylor winning the national championship, I think it, you know, Texas powers, you know, the big benefactors, alums like you, students, fans, look to Chris Beard and say, hey, dude, if Scott Drew can do this at Baylor, you need to do this at Texas. I think it turns the heat up a little bit, and I think Chris Beard relishes the heat. I think he's here at Texas to win a national championship. And if they can do it in Waco, coming off a murder in the early 2000s and a program that should have probably gotten the death penalty, I mean, all of it, for the basketball murder in the early 2000s for the Art Briles god-awful debacle. You know, you said, Shannon, what may or may not have happened in that athletic program. I think we're sure a lot of things did happen that were awfully bad. And you also make a great point. These kids didn't do it. And for those people like Scott Drew who have resurrected this program and had a bad reputation to work with and, just the ashes of where things were, good on them. So, but I really do think that this puts Chris Beard and the Texas Longhorns on notice. If they can do it in Waco with that brand, there is no reason why the Texas Longhorns shouldn't be knocking on the door every year like Gonzaga is and winning the darn thing like Baylor did last night.
I mean, Baylor was the downfall for Karen Aston in that women's program. She could beat everybody but Baylor. She could not get over Kim Mulkey in that Baylor women's program, and that ultimately saw her the door. Vic Schaefer struggled and did not beat Baylor this year. Now, he, of course, in year one, and I think he was able to, exceed expectations a little bit in that they did make it pretty far into the tournament with that Sweet 16 appearance in his first year, and in a COVID year where getting to know your players was more of a virtual thing than an in-person thing. Aside from when they were on the court. But yeah, I totally agree. And I think as much as Tech fans would like to sit here and think that Texas basketball fans are really excited to go up to Lubbock and play, Chris Beard's former team, I think the team that you have to prepare for most with your season is Baylor.
Yes. And I mean, this is going to be, I don't know everybody who's coming back, but I mean, this is a crazy talented Baylor team. And a lot of people pointed this out. If the COVID thing doesn't happen to Baylor and kind of knock them for a loop and they get 2 losses in February, if that doesn't happen, that maybe this is a battle of 2 unbeatens. But then again, Baylor was supposed to play Gonzaga, so somebody would have won that game. But quite possibly, Baylor would have won that game against Gonzaga, and maybe Baylor comes into this one undefeated and the number 1 overall seed. I mean, a lot of overnight Twitter hate thrown at Gonzaga, which I think is unfair. A lot of people citing Pepperdine and, some of the teams that, St. Mary's and some of the teams that are always on Gonzaga's schedule. That's unfair. They scheduled Baylor. They went through a tough tournament and beat some really, really good teams to get to that national championship game. Yeah. But, man.
Play who's in front of you.
Yeah. True.
Play who's in front of you.
True. But, and again, we've talked about Big 12 basketball all season. Much more of a gauntlet for every Big 12 team to get through. And if you think about it on a certain level, for Baylor to, get out of the regular season with just 2 losses playing in the Big 12 is actually a bit of an accomplishment right there. So, I mean, on one level, I'm sad for Gonzaga. I mean, what a story over the years, and they certainly had a storybook season, especially with the culmination, that win over UCLA with the Jalen Suggs 3-point shot. And it looked like this was going to be their coronation last night. And, Mark Few has done just such a phenomenal job there all of these years. It's sad for them to have come this close and not closed the deal, but flip side of that, it's a triumph for Baylor basketball.
Yeah, Gonzaga should reach out to Tom Brady and that Patriots team and see if they have any wise words for how to get over it. When you've reached the mountaintop undefeated, you're going to go all the way, and then you lose it at that final game. And then for Baylor, for those that aren't aware of the murder at Baylor, there is a great Showtime documentary called Disgrace that came out a couple of years ago. That I believe a local producer from Austin had his hand in, but it is great, very informative, and that way you're not out of the loop when you hear people saying, no, I don't want this for that program, which is, that's fair. Don't want it for the program, but want it for the team. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I think I feel maybe a little bit lean towards that a little bit.
Yeah, well, and you are a diehard, hardcore Texas Longhorn alum. And I mean, obviously, and one of the most amazing things, and we talked about this yesterday, Shannon, that only one Texas team in men's basketball since 1939, since they've been playing the tournament and the championship in a similar format to the field of 64/68 that exists today. Only that historic Texas Western team. Of course, Texas Western, now Texas El Paso, going up against the all-white Kentucky team in 1966, which became a historic run and a game and a championship, and inspired a movie and inspired so many people with the way Texas Western won that. I am still amazed to this day that was it. 1966, no other Texas teams have broken through. So it was about darn time somebody from the great state of Texas won this national championship.
Yeah. And I'm sure that a lot of schools say we should have been it. Texas Tech, of course, was so close just a few short years ago, but Baylor finally gets it. This is very almost Matt Rule-like in his rise with Baylor, right? I mean, he had a team that was next to nothing and in shambles at the time because it had all fallen apart.
Yeah.
After, all the things that they went through. And for him to get them into the playoffs, and then obviously he ended up moving on to the NFL. That's why I'm sitting here and wondering what's next for Drew Scott, because I think Baylor needs to lock him down. Like
Drew Scott or Scott Drew? You're freaking me out on.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking Drew Scott would be the property brother.
Yes.
So sorry.
It's all right.
I love my HGTV. Don't get me started on the Huskers. I love me some HHI.
See, well, Drew Scott should probably, ride this wave too. He should collaborate with Scott Drew, like and they should do some product placement.
That's why people cannot have two first names.
Exactly. I've always had that problem.
Just be one.
Yeah. Come on.
Just have one.
There you go.
Baylor needs to lock him down, regardless, even if they write it in the contract wrong, if they get his name backwards.
Yeah, I think they're gonna.
Because someone else could easily come and swoop him.
Yeah, he sure does. See, I mean, in his post-game comments, he seems committed to Baylor, obviously, and I mean, my goodness, you look at his journey and a losing record by monumental proportions. His first 4 years on the job, granted, when he took over, it was an absolute wreck, an absolute shambles at Baylor, as we talked about the murder. And if you go look at it, a player murdered another player at Baylor.
And the coach,
coach covered it up.
His eyes,
coach said, nothing to see here. Let's keep playing, everybody. And so, my God, man, you look at that episode in the Baylor athletic program, could have, and some people would say should have, gotten them the death penalty. Mm-hmm. You look at the Art Briles era in football, could have, and a lot of people will say should have gotten them the death penalty. And for them to be the force that they have been, you mentioned Matt Rule, to resurrect football, women's basketball, Kim Mulkey having them there year in, year out all the time. If not for a very bad call, maybe the Baylor women win the championship this year. True. And now Baylor basketball. And again, I go back to the University of Texas on all of this, Shannon. If they can do this in Waco with an athletic department that was a shambles, with a brand that, if you ask me, can't come close to the Texas Longhorns brand, you got to do this. Steve Sarkisian, you got to win a national championship. Chris Beard, you got to win a national championship. That is the expectation. And after Baylor wins this championship last night, I think it's more the expectation than ever for Longhorn basketball.
Yep. And the first place to start is winning the Big 12. Got to win the Big 12 to kind of almost impress and secure your spot before you go out and compete for that national championship. But yeah, Texas should be like the Alabamas and like the Clemsons, where they are almost a given in the playoffs each year in football, and a given to make it to the tournament, and not like in years past where it's like, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna have to play in? Are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? I'm still so embarrassed that everyone was so excited about the NIT championship. They went on a 7-game run. Hang the banner, print the shirts. Burn that.
Yeah.
Burn it down. Do not bring that into that new stadium.
Don't be wearing an NIT Champions t-shirt. Yep. I'm with you on that. All right. We got a lot to cover as we roll forward. We got a poll question for you that will let you know now that the college basketball is over. We're moving on. What are we moving on to? We will get into that with you. We got a new coach at North Carolina. We've got Aaron Rodgers doing Jeopardy. all kinds of stuff. Since Shannon's been away, now the Houston Police Department is looking into the Deshaun Watson allegations. That's the story that keeps on giving. A little bit later, your Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays. I didn't even introduce Dave Ayler yet. That's how rude I am. We'll do that in the next segment. Your soundscape stylist is the great Dave Ayler. Tanner Carlson going to jump in here in the 8 o'clock hour. I'm sure he will talk a little NFL draft and get his thoughts on the national championship last night. You want to sound off? We love your phone calls. 800-707-9760, 800-707-9760. And we're streaming live video on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages. With you till 9. Lots going on. It's the Chris Duel Show. Robert, welcome. Jeff, Dennis LaRue, good to see you in here. Good to see all of you in here.
Thanks for the music, Dave.
Hector Gomez. All right. More coffee, and I need water. Luisa Alanis, welcome. John Paul Albert. Robert, is it pronounced Huisar? I'm probably mispronouncing it. That's why I shouldn't have even taken a shot. All right. I'll be right back with hot, fresh coffee. Welcome, John Paul Albert. One more time.
Did you watch Aaron Rodgers yesterday?
I did not. I heard a little audio, but I did not watch it.
Oh my God, it was bad. I thought he was
Oh, good, because I know Shannon's going to talk about it. So since you've seen it, jump in and let's have that discussion. Cool.
Want to do that next?
I'm not sure. Shannon, Aaron Rodgers is not part of the Salty Shakedown, is he?
No.
No, he's not. Yeah, we might get into it next. All right. Sam Darnold, got to get into that. I bring in my own coffee. I've become a coffee snob. Now I got to fire it up.
What's going on, guys? What a miss. Feel like I've been gone for a while. I missed Mike Taylor's vasectomy. I didn't think I needed to be a part of that. But okay. I hope he feels better. Wes, does the article talk about the McDonald's order? McMuffins?
Wes, I did not see that article. That's right. It is Taco Tuesday, Sam. I didn't introduce Dave, and I didn't mention it's Taco Tuesday. "22nd lawsuit filed against Deshaun Watson. Good morning, Lucinda Sullivan. Thank you, Wes. I look forward to reading that. So, Dave and Shannon saw some Aaron Rodgers hosting Jeopardy, which I missed. So they're going to have to fill me in. Taro is in here. Taro Kotani. Taro, have you seen Godzilla versus Kong? Dave Ayler saw it. We talked about it yesterday. Greg Abbott refusing to throw out the first pitch at the Rangers game. What a guy. Taro has not seen it. I have not seen it either. Yeah. Richard Flores, welcome in. The Spurs could have used the Jimmer last night, too. My God. Spurs are in a tailspin at the moment. Hopefully the road. Who'd have thunk getting back on the road may be the cure? AD Ibarra. Yeah, AD, I am happy about Baylor. Yeah, the Astros were up. They lost that game late. I was too locked into
What happened
the
is
national
people were
championship
throwing
to get a
trash
good
cans.
sense of what was going on in the Astros game. No undefeated season now for the Astros.
People were throwing trash cans.
162-0 is off the table. I did not see. Did Ohtani hit a homer last night? I didn't see it. Here we come. I'm always looking for a place to jump in on the bumper music. There it is. There's the chorus. I knew it was coming. Chris Duel Show. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. Shannon Salty Sweeney is back. We got so many things to talk about from the national championship. New coach at North Carolina. Sam Darnold traded. More allegations against Deshaun Watson. But first, let's say hello, Shannon, to Dave Ayler. I got 39 minutes, almost 40 minutes into the show.
Noticing it keeps on getting later and later in the show. It's gonna be like it's 8:45. Let's bring in Dave.
I suck. I'm so rude. Although it's like it's like you create the anticipation. It's like people are going, man, is it Dave? I'm really liking the music. Who's the soundscape stylist?
I mean, if you were on Facebook or YouTube watching us live,
thank you.
I am on Facebook watching you live.
True fan.
I am on Facebook watching you live.
She's talking to the audience.
I mean, the audience.
Oh.
So people would have seen you from the get-go.
See you. They could get they could get the Dave earlier. It's like an exclusive.
Yes. I like it. I like it that way. So Dave, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Congratulations to all the Baylor fans. I had them losing in the final, but I'm glad they won.
Did you have Gonzaga, Baylor in the final?
No, I had Michigan and Baylor in the final.
Who did I have? I had Gonzaga, Illinois. And I had Illinois beating Gonzaga just because everybody else was picking Gonzaga.
We were taken out of the tournament so early.
I was gone early. In fact, Sister Jean did it to me. I think Loyola Chicago. And that's another one. Is it Chicago Loyola or is it Loyola Chicago? I think it's Loyola Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Another one that
Will she be going to Oklahoma?
Why would she go to Oklahoma?
Because Loyola Chicago's coach is now.
Oh, that's right. That's a great question. No, I think.
I don't know where her ties are exactly. I don't know who pays her.
I'm sensing she'll stay with Loyola Chicago, and that coach will burn in hell for going against Sister Jean. That's just a guess.
They like a 10-year curse. They won't make it back to the tournament.
Gosh. So, all right, Dave Ayler, you have something in common with Shannon Salty Sweeney that I don't have. I somehow missed the historic television debut of perhaps the future permanent host of Jeopardy, because I saw a quote.
No, he won't be.
He won't be. All right. Aaron Rodgers, Packers cheesehead quarterback Aaron Rodgers hosted Jeopardy yesterday. Shannon, Dave, what are the reviews?
It was not good.
He's there for 2 weeks. He's a guest host. He was on a celebrity version of the game show where I think he won. He's always been a big fan. He's talked about it before. So, and they're doing this guest host role, right, to kind of fill in the time in between the passing of Alex Trebek and whoever's going to be taking over. And for what he is, which is an NFL quarterback and a guy who has not been known to really have a personality, which showed, and not been known to put himself in the spotlight, I thought he did pretty well.
Oh.
He definitely has a lot of ums, and I'm sure they edited as much as they could. He did okay. He relied heavily on the cards. I thought the questions yesterday were pretty easy. I was getting too many of those right, or I guess the answers. I forget which way is which on Jeopardy. I guess the answer with the question. But overall, it was pretty good. The best part was the very end. The winner from the previous day gave his final answer on Final Jeopardy. And do you have this, Dave?
No.
Okay, so I don't remember the actual question. Doesn't matter. The guy didn't know it, so he decided to write. Who decided to kick the field goal? And Aaron Rodgers was a good sport, and he laughed. Of course, we all remember the Packers decided to take a field goal against Tom Brady in the finals or the playoffs of this year, just to give Tom Brady the ball back. And Tom Brady does what he does, and he goes and wins football games, and you take the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, and so he laughed. He had a good time, and Aaron said, "I wish that was the correct answer, but it wasn't."
Now,
But
Dave,
he roasted it. So if you haven't seen it, Video is on my Twitter feed as well as AM 1300 Zone's TikTok, where it is blowing up.
Well, and
Check
we
it out.
might grab that audio for you here in a little while. Now, Dave, Shannon said for who he is, Aaron Rodgers did okay. You're shaking your head there. What you disagree? You think
No.
he was god awful?
Yeah, I thought he was terrible. He has no personality. And if you can't do the job, then don't let the guy do the job. And as far as reading the questions, he was fine. But he sounded like I had a terrible professor in college that taught political science. He had this monotone voice and just put you to sleep. And it's like by Final Jeopardy, he was like watching paint dry.
Ugh.
I mean, the only time you need personality is when they have that in between with where they say a quote unquote fun fact about the contestants.
Yeah, but
and also, you're at the mercy of how fun these contestants are, and generally they are not.
Oh, yeah.
One guy's fun thing was that he had just been to all of the areas of Canada, their territories or whatever, and Aaron's response was, "Well, as a guy who's only been to a couple parts of Canada, where should I go?" I'm like, okay, first of all, we're in the middle of a pancetta. No one's traveling to Canada until we get rid of the personal pan pizza. No one's going to be traveling. We're in the middle of a parallelogram. Not a good question. Also, you probably already been to Canada, and you are a millionaire. You can go anytime, anywhere you want. Don't act like you're trying to make plans to go to Canada. Okay?
Well,
Ouch.
Jeopardy. Well, Alex Trebek didn't have a lot of personality, but he had some. And I agree
He
with
can
you.
hold a conversation. He can
Exactly.
do small talk.
Exactly. And I agree with you that, the Jeopardy contestants are always nerds. They're always big, gigantic nerds, and you have to be nerdy to get
Doesn't
on the
mean you don't
show.
have a personality.
No, well, but you have to be kind of nerdy to get on the show because you have to be pretty smart.
One guy, though, to be fair to Aaron, a guy, the middle contestant, the guy who ended up winning, said that he took the Jeopardy test or whatever while at a concert, and Aaron's question was, what concert was it? And the guy answered as if Aaron just asked him, what was it like taking the test at a concert? Never revealed what concert he was at while taking the Jeopardy test.
That's not right. We need to know.
That made Aaron look bad, too.
Now,
Day 2 today, 4 o'clock Central Time.
well, and I want to say this in Aaron Rodgers' defense, Dave and Shannon. I mean, think of the first time you were on the radio in front of a microphone. I mean, for him to compare him to Alex Trebek his first time out, and he's going to be there 2 weeks, right? So I would say, I mean, that was opening night for him and the first time doing something like this. So I'd give him a couple of shows to.
It makes you wonder though, because they film like 4 or 5 shows in a day.
Yeah.
Week they're done with, maybe 2 weeks worth. He'll probably be done filming his entire run by Thursday this week. So you wonder if it's for him, a football player, maybe it's just reps, or if it really is going to be like a day-to-day thing. So you really won't see progression until like the end of this week, beginning of next week.
He needs to keep his day job.
I think he's fine with that.
I'm sure he's making a lot more money doing his day job.
I haven't seen it, but him and Shailene Woodley, his now fiance, I guess, got on Twitter or Instagram or something last night and kind of gave a recap of a play-by-play of his first hosting gig. So
Now help me out on Shailene Woodley. I knew Olivia Munn. I know who she is. I've seen her work. I knew obviously Aaron Rodgers' second high-profile woman, Danica Patrick, the race driver. Now Shailene Woodley, and you say they are engaged. Is she an actress? Do we know what she has done?
She is an actress. She kind of rose to fame on an ABC Family show, something about 16 and pregnant. She's my age. She's been in a couple of HBO miniseries since then. She's known to be like a huge activist as well as a minimalist.
Hey,
I don't
okay.
think she has a place of dwelling. I don't think she owns a TV, which is partly why she did not really know who he was as a football player, because she's not into sports, and then she also just doesn't have a TV. So she doesn't know Discount Double Check. She doesn't know Jake from State Farm.
An activist and a minimalist.
Yeah. So
That's impressive.
That's kind of her thing. So it's still very a weird matchup, I think. But I don't know. Aaron's kind of weird too, and that's okay. I'm happy that he's happy.
Well, and I just wonder. I mean, this is 3 consecutive, very high-profile,
Weird.
Type A women. So,
Weird women.
He's the Taylor Swift of the NFL.
ooh, that's a very good analogy. I like that.
He has a type.
Yeah. Well, and I've always, ever since I heard he no longer talks to his parents and no longer talks to his brother, that's just, yeah, granted, and again, it's like the Deshaun Watson thing. What are the odds that every one of them is a jerk? His mom's a jerk, his dad's a jerk, his brother's. I mean, maybe you're the jerk, Aaron Rodgers.
One of these things is not like
Yeah.
the other.
So, well, I will try to tune in because I want to see what's going on there. But and we'll try to grab that audio a little bit later in the show from Shannon, Salty Sweeney's, easy for me to say, Twitter page, and we'll hear that final moment. And you gotta like that contestant kind of trolling Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers a little bit. And that's great. If you don't know the answer at the end of the show, have a moment and have some fun with it and troll Aaron Rodgers. I like that.
He only bet $0, and he'd already lost. So, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Make your mark.
Very cool.
We'll see how that's interesting though. That happened day one. Let's just see if anybody else trolls him.
Well, and again, though, you got to credit Jeopardy. I mean, here we are talking about it. They, whether he's good or not, you got one of the highest profile NFL quarterbacks. I mean, on one hand, certainly Tom Brady, Drew Brees until his retirement, and Aaron Rodgers. Those are probably 1, 2, 3 in any order you choose to rank them. So people are talking about Jeopardy. I think that's a smart move to have him do this. So
gotta ask, did you think it was a catch next?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Dez caught the ball, Aaron. I'm just saying. All right. From one quarterback to another, the New York Jets, if there was any question that they were going to use their draft pick to pick a quarterback, we now know it is official because they traded Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers. And Shannon, I think one of the big things that strikes me about this deal is what the Carolina Panthers gave up for Sam Darnold. They gave up a sixth round pick this year, but next year a second round and a fourth round pick. So you gave up 3 draft picks, a second and a 4 and a 6 over the next 2 years. The odds of hitting a decent football player or 2 out of those 3 draft picks are pretty good. I think that's probably the best deal the Jets could have gotten for Sam Darnold, a guy who granted, it's the Jets and they're a dumpster fire, but a guy who has yet to demonstrate that he's a very good NFL quarterback. He's adequate. I think he has skills. I love him. He went to USC, but if I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, I don't know if I'm thrilled about this deal.
So Matt Rule, before taking that Carolina job, did interview to be the head coach of the Jets, and during that time spoke with Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold talk to him about team and culture and unity and things of that nature, rather than what most quarterbacks would do, which is talk about scheme and where they, number of wins and things of that nature. And so that really spoke to Matt Rule, and I think stuck with him. And, we saw what Matt Rule did with those players at Baylor. Imagine what he can do with a guy like Sam Darnold. So I think as far as a coach and a quarterback matchup, I think it's great. I feel bad for Teddy Bridgewater, who probably thought that this was going to be his team. He is now probably on that trading block. A contract of a large sum won't be coming his way from the Carolina at this point. And obviously now the Jets most likely taking a quarterback, that number 2's pick from this year's draft, probably set in stone now.
Well, and Teddy Bridgewater, how quickly the Panthers give up on him. It was just 2 seasons ago, season before last, when Drew Brees goes out, was it 4 or 6 games? And Bridgewater comes in and looks very, very good in that New Orleans Saints offense. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm picking up the phone and saying, hey, we'll give you a bag of Doritos for Teddy Bridgewater, make him part of that quarterback competition in New Orleans next year.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And he already knows the system.
Yeah. And even as a Cowboys fan, I wouldn't mind having him on
God.
But I do think that New Orleans will be a great landing spot for Teddy in this case. And you have to wonder Jameis Winston's reaction. I would love to be in the room when Jameis Winston hears that news.
Oh, God, yes. Jameis can't be happy about that.
Then you have a legitimate quarterback battle.
Yes.
Whereas right now, Jameis feels like the guy.
I like your idea, though. We lost the red rifle. I would love to have Teddy Bridgewater as a backup quarterback in Dallas. That would be huge. All right. Whole lot to talk about. New coach at North Carolina. They keep it in the family. We will get into that story. Governor Greg Abbott refuses to throw out the first pitch at the Rangers game where he was scheduled to throw out the first pitch yesterday. Apparently in Anaheim last night, they throw out an inflatable garbage can onto the field at the Astros game. Yeah. So we got baseball. Masters is coming up. Didn't even get to the poll question, which I might have to revamp after hearing your choice, Shannon. We'll get into all of that. She's Shannon, Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler on board. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging. It's the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, Shannon, I may just revamp that poll question and add the Masters, and if they have another one, then they can still just put that in the comments. Maybe I'll write that into it, but okay. I completely.
I mean, it's only like you said the rest of April. And this is the middle of April.
And you out of queue. Okay, now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, you said the whole of April, and it's only a week. I guess you maybe just put PGA and then in parens like the Masters.
Yeah, or what's next on your April sports radar? What's the next big thing on your April? That way we can say the Masters. But yeah, when you said Masters, it's like that needs to be in. So I'm going to redo and.
So I've become one of these people.
Hold on.
I carry a giant, oversized water.
As you can see, is good for you.
I haven't made it very far today.
I need to get one of those.
Yesterday either. Got new goals in life, you guys.
Hey, you can't hydrate enough.
Got to finish my Dunkin' though first before I.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. There's that. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to copy that and then whoops. Copy. Tweet. Now I'm going to reword that. Okay. All right. With college hoops over, what is now atop your April sports radar? With college hoops now over. Okay, now with college hoops over, what is now atop your April sports radar? The Masters, Major League Baseball, NFL Draft, NBA. Okay. Now I'm going to delete that other one. Okay, new poll question is up. Wes Perkins says Sam Darnold is singing all the way to Carolina today. Yeah, it's got to be a relief for him.
Hey, Chris. I got that Final Jeopardy answer. Or you want to save it later?
Yeah, let's just have it ready. I may get to it now since we just talked about it last segment. I might do it. Okay.
Oh, Louisa, I thought it was great to see Jordan win. I didn't really get a chance to watch it. Kept up with on my phone though. I mean, I've always been a Spieth fan, and even though he hasn't played as exceptional in the last couple of years, he always seems to play his best at the Masters. So super excited for him this weekend. Jason, I assure you, tacos had nothing to do with my being out last week.
She was on a quest to find the perfect taco.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Wes Perkins says Spurs fans and Twitter going nuts. Granted, 2-7 in a huge homestand, not great, but they're still in the hunt. Win-win, make the playoffs great, or big-time lottery this year. Yeah. It's a tough this 2-7 stretch and getting blown out the way they've been blown out lately, Wes. You know, I had this thought last night. And granted, they're still at 500 now at 24-24. And they were sub 500 last year, but I mean, this is one of the most difficult moments for the Spurs, I think, since Kawhi left. This is a tough going 2-7 at home. 7 of those games against winnable. 7 were winnable. When we looked at those 9 games, you had 2 against the Clippers. And going in, I thought, all right, if we can split against the Clippers, and then win a decent number of the other 7, and maybe we go 6-3, 7-2 if we do well. That was dreaming, and that was wrong. So they're in trouble. And the only good news now, they're 12-7 on the road and 12-17 at home. So hopefully a 5-game road trip coming up. Hopefully whatever they do right on the road continues to take place and they right this ship, I hope. Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
The day after the national championship game, Baylor Bears are your men's NCAA basketball champions, beating Gonzaga last night. Way to go, Baylor. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and yes, she is back. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney on board, along with Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. 1 hour in the books. Shannon, how's it feel to be back?
It feels very good. It feels great. I'd much rather be awake and at work than awake in the situation that I was in last week. Fantastic to be back.
Woo! Woo! Well, we missed you. We're glad to have you back.
Yes, and I'm sad that I kind of missed the tail end of the basketball season. I mean, I was watching Texas basketball on Tuesday when my ailments kind of kicked in. So I was like, is this because I'm having an issue, or is this because I'm watching the end of the Texas women's basketball season? And that kind of takes us to our poll question of the day.
Woo!
Asking, with college hoops over, what is now atop your April sports radar this week, of course, being the Masters. So the Masters currently leading the way with 50%, MLB 10%, NFL draft 30%, and NBA 10%. I myself, obviously, this week, I'm all about the Masters. But with the end of football season, I then kind of slide into the college basketball season. The end of college basketball season, I kind of slide into the tail end of the NBA season as we prep for the finals and the playoffs. And I'm very happy with where the Mavs are right now, considering where they were prior in the season. They just got a big win over the Jazz. So after the Masters, I will be looking forward to them finishing out the NBA season strong.
Well, and of course, you being a Mavs fan, and right about the time you went out last week, it seemed at that time the Mavs and the Spurs were kind of trading positions for the 7 spot. Since then, the Spurs have really gone into a tailspin. They had a 9-game homestand that they wrapped up last night, getting annihilated by the Cleveland Cavaliers 125-101. So the Spurs go 2-7 on the homestand. They have fallen to 500 at 24-24. And now the Mavericks lead over the Spurs is now 3.5 games. Spurs have fallen out of the 8th slot. They started the night last night in a virtual tie with the Memphis Grizzlies. So Spurs fall to the 9 slot. Of course, this year it's a little unusual in that if you get 9 or 10 in previous seasons, that would not get you into the playoffs, but 9 and 10 will get into a play-in situation. They're going to have a little play-in tournament with 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the NBA. So I was talking about this to Facebook Live, Shannon, off the air a few minutes ago, but granted, last year the Spurs were sub 500 overall. Right now they're at 500 at 24-24. At one point this season, they were 6 games above 500, which was outstanding for this Spurs team. But the way they've lost some of these games on this 9-game homestand to teams that they should not have lost to, like Cleveland last night. The other night, the Indiana Pacers, they lost big to the Pacers. The Pacers, 3 of their top scorers were out of the lineup. I mean, these are games the Spurs should be winning. There's some kind of a disconnect. Now, they go on the road. Now, a 5-game road trip, the first 2 in Denver, Wednesday and Friday night. Spurs this season, record-wise, are 12-7 on the road, so hopefully that will kick in. But I really, as a Spurs fan, this is kind of like maybe the low point, at least this little snapshot of this 9-game homestand at 2-7 kind of feels like the low point since the Kawhi debacle. You know, the Spurs need to find a way to turn things around, and we'll see what happens Wednesday night.
Now, I know we have this play-in, but you almost have to think, even if you go through this play and then you get in, then you're probably getting knocked out in that next round of the playoffs. If you're a Spurs fan, when do you start saying, all right, let's just tank it. Let's just get everyone out of the season healthy. Let's maybe go for a lottery pick here, see what we can come up with, and look ahead to the next season. And I hate when teams do that because the games still matter to other teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you're needing other teams to lose and you're watching them, they're like, oh, they have the Spurs on the schedule. Well, that's a win because they're not even trying anymore. Well, that's not great. That doesn't help me out. So you want everyone to keep playing. And I'm sure under a guy like Pop, everyone will keep playing to some degree. But I think you have to wonder now, is it worth even doing the play-in and going through all that pomp and circumstance, knowing your chances of winning the whole thing are slim to none?
I just don't think, having watched Greg Popovich through his entire time in San Antonio, including when he was an assistant coach originally, I just don't think, as an Air Force Academy graduate, I don't think it is in his nature to tank. And I think, it may, if the Spurs don't get it together, whether you try or not, and I think that they will fight hard. You could make the argument, now you look at the teams right behind them. Golden State, 2 games behind the Spurs, the Pelicans 2.5, and the Kings 3.5. So theoretically, if you don't start winning, and the Spurs have the toughest schedule here in the second half on 2 fronts. One, number of games jammed into the second half of the season. So, they seem to be tired just from the volume of games that they're playing, but strength of schedule as well. You look at the record of team. The next 2 are against the Denver Nuggets, and the Nuggets are a very, very good team. And the Nuggets went deep in the playoffs to the Western Conference Finals last year. So we'll see how it plays out. But I can't imagine, Shannon, that it is in the DNA of Greg Popovich, R.C. Buford, any of these, the Spurs staff, coaches, Becky Hammond,
right,
or players to tank. I think they're going to, and you look at how they played earlier in the season, they got to win at LA against the Clippers. They got to win at LA against the Lakers. I'm just hopeful that this next 5 games on the road, we'll see some return to how they played on the road earlier this year.
Yeah, I can't imagine Pop saying, all right, we're going to tank it here. But I guess I just wonder, for Spurs fans, what is it that they're wanting out of this season now that it is where it is? What's going to make them happy?
I get back on a roll and get to the number 6 seed. I mean, a week ago when the Mavericks and the Spurs were trading out places for the 7 seed, the 6 seed, even the 5 seed was within the realm of possibility. Now it's, try to avoid being 9 or 10 and try to get to 7 or 8. And I think, and again, I'm delusional as a Spurs fan. I admit it. I'm a homer. I'm always thinking glass half full. And if this Spurs team plays to its capabilities, if it were in a play-in situation and got into the playoffs as a 7 or an 8 seed while surviving that play-in situation, I think the fact that the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns are now 1-2 in the Western Conference, I would rather play the Jazz or the Suns than I would the Lakers. If the Lakers are going to be at full strength by playoff time, then the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Nuggets. You've got Clippers at 3, Nuggets at 4.
Playoffs is a pretty good deal.
True. But they've acquired Lou Williams. They've got Rajon Rondo now, and you expect the Clippers to eventually play to their potential, and you've got Kawhi, who 2 years ago willed Toronto to the championship. So they scare me a little bit come playoff time.
Yeah, and I can understand not wanting LeBron specifically in the playoffs.
Right.
Save him till maybe he's a little more gassed.
Now, to better answer your question, though, I am a delusional Spurs freak. I don't want to see them miss the. I want them to get into the playoffs some way, somehow, and then shock the world and knock some people off, because I think the Spurs have a lot of talent. That being said, and you said take the Spurs hat off, I'll do that. From what I hear, there's some talent to be had if you're a lottery pick in this draft. And you look at what the Spurs did in the last 2 drafts. 2 drafts ago, Keldon Johnson looks pretty darn good. Luka Šamanić, who was actually drafted ahead of Keldon Johnson, may have a future with the Spurs. And then this year they got Devin Vassell in the lottery, who looks like he's going to be outstanding. So, I mean, if this team that has a lot of young talent had one more lottery pick and he turned out to be something special, then, you look at the Golden State Warriors, and they were homegrown. They built that team originally before they brought Kevin Durant over, with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. They built that team organically through the draft, and the Spurs may be on a trajectory to do that with all this young talent.
One player from either Gonzaga or Baylor from last night's game that you would say, yes, Spurs, he would be a good fit here.
I don't want
to think one of the big men, right?
I don't like Drew Timme. I don't like I mean, it's an attitude problem with me. Plus, he was doing that little bicep flex against my USC Trojans. So it's like personal now. Now I really don't like Drew Timme. Jalen Suggs, who hit the 3-point shot. I know the Spurs are guard heavy, but man,
they do need three shooters.
He does. Jalen Suggs, and granted, I know a lot of us now judge him just based on that 3-point shot, but he just has the look of a fire. Yeah, like he's got the it factor, and he could be a big success in the NBA. And I think Drew Timme will as well. I think Drew Timme is going to be a functional, very good big man in the NBA. So if I can get past my distaste for his hot dogging, I'll be okay.
So after last night and Baylor's victory, you're still going to take first 2 picks. You're taking Gonzaga guys.
They're in this tournament. They're the guys who kind of struck me the most. So how about you?
I mean, for the Spurs, I like Timme just because I think they need a big man, kind of a central role, big man.
Yeah.
And he is, I believe he's from the Dallas area.
Richardson, Texas. Yes.
He is a Texas guy.
True.
I don't know, but yeah, he'd have to lose the flexing.
But from Richardson, Texas, he probably grew up a Mavs fan. Do we want a Mavs fan?
I mean, I think when you're going to the NBA, you've got to leave any fanship behind you.
Yes, you do.
You're going to play any professional sport.
Yes, you do. So, all right. So I didn't expect to talk Spurs there, but we have to, and we should, and hopefully they will turn it around. 24-24 right now, and even 500. Their best moment, as I mentioned, was 6 games above 500. 5-game road trip coming up with 2 at Denver. We'll see how it goes. Go Spurs, go. Bill Schoening on the show tomorrow. He'll make us feel better. Darn it. We have Bill Schoening, the voice of the Spurs, every Wednesday at 8:06. So Bill will make us feel better.
He could.
I trust.
He could.
All right, Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. What else haven't we gotten into yet? Oh, baseball. A couple of things that struck me yesterday. First, they open up that new Rangers stadium for the first time to Rangers fans. Of course, last year in the postseason, that stadium hosted a lot of the postseason and the World Series. And interestingly, Texas Governor Greg Abbott sends a letter to Major League Baseball and to the commissioner and says, nope, I will not throw out the first pitch. He is angry that Major League Baseball took the All-Star game out of Atlanta and is now probably, almost certainly, we're hearing, moving it to Coors Field in Denver. And of course, Texas is trying to enact very similar laws. The Republican legislature and led by Governor Greg Abbott trying to enact laws that are viewed by many as restricting voters. And that's the big issue with Georgia, and which led Major League Baseball to move the All-Star game out of Georgia. So Governor Greg Abbott was supposed to throw out the first pitch. He said no, he wouldn't do it. Somehow they managed to play the game anyway without the governor throwing out the first pitch.
I know those ceremonial first pitches, somehow they carried on without him. And did they sell it? It's 40,000 people in that stadium, right?
Yes.
I don't know, was it a sellout? Because it was packed.
They had a big crowd. I'm not sure if it was officially a sellout or not, but it looked like a lot of people were there.
It looked like almost a normal opening day.
Yeah.
Did they get a replacement first pitch, or did they just play ball?
That's a good question. I think they just played ball. I don't think they trotted anybody out.
I'd be good with that if I was there.
But what would have been hilarious if they did it though? If they would have gotten Beto to come, or Matthew McConaughey, who's being rumored as a possible gubernatorial candidate. If they would have gotten a guy who is viewed as a threat to Greg Abbott, that would have been funny. But I don't think they did that.
Yeah. I don't. The fact that he put it on Twitter is where it's like, send your letter and be done. Twitter is becoming, I don't know. If you're in politics, I just don't feel like you need to share everything on Twitter.
Yeah, but
and then with the
But a very successful presidential candidate used Twitter in a big way until they took him off of Twitter. True. But that kind of is the playbook. And I imagine if you're a Republican governor, as Greg Abbott is, and obviously he wants to maintain that Republican base, many of whom continue to be Donald Trump supporters. So you kind of want to play to that crowd and keep them. Then I guess you use Twitter.
I mean, I didn't know he was even going to throw out the first pitch until everyone was talking about how he wasn't throwing out the first pitch. So I guess that
true.
Either the level of interest I have in it or whatever. But Rangers did go on to lose that game yesterday. So way to start the homestand. Yeah.
And meanwhile, in Anaheim, the Astros, while leading much of the night, wound up losing in the end to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And notably, and I mentioned this earlier, somebody threw out an inflatable trash can onto the field. That is funny.
I don't know where you get an inflatable trash can.
I don't know.
That's a specific find.
But I'm sure whoever manufactures those inflatable trash cans.
We're going to see so many more now.
Yeah. And looking at the Astros opening series in Oakland, lots of anti-Astro banners, signs, you're cheaters, we will never forget. My favorite was game one of the season on opening day. They cut to, it was like a 10-year-old kid in the stands at Oakland who had a mini, those silver trash cans we used to have years ago, just a silver.
Like Oscar the Grouch kind
of. Yes. So he had a little mini silver trash can and was just wailing on it with a mini baseball bat, making a lot of noise. So if you were wondering, and I kind of was wondering, he was a kid.
So he basically wasn't alive when that all happened with the Astros.
That's true. He would have been, he'd have been 7 or 8. So, but the fans, and again, I get it. Everybody loves to hate somebody. And if you're not an Astros fan, if you're a fan of another team, and the Astros come to town, you're going to want to jump in. And so far, it doesn't seem to be rattling the Astros. If anything, it seems to kind of have fueled them, certainly in the Oakland series. But I would say get used to it. And like you, I agree. If you're going to heckle and make a statement, an anti-Astro statement, be creative, be entertaining. And the inflatable trash can was entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, but now it's been done. So you got to come up with something. The Astros doing whatever they may have or have not done is not the reason why you did not win the World Series that year. So calm down. You played a lot of teams. Just losing to the Astros was not the reason why you did not make it to the championship and then lose it.
And I truly believe and know, first of all,
Angels aren't ones to talk. They've got their own situations going on.
Yes, they do. And sign stealing has been going on since the 1800s.
Yeah, sorry they did it better than the rest of you.
Yeah, they utilized technology, and if you, it's like college recruiting and paying athletes underneath the table, alumni giving $100 handshakes. If you think your university isn't doing it, if you think your university is absolutely clean, you are naive. And if you think your baseball team isn't trying to find clandestine ways to steal signs and maybe get away with stealing signs in a way that is illegal in the eyes of Major League Baseball, then I believe you are also naive. Yeah, Astros got caught. They should pay a penalty. The heckling, they've earned all of this heckling, but if whoever is your team, if you assume that your team would not have done it given the same opportunity, then I don't think you're living in reality.
Yep.
Just saying. All right.
Let's move on here, folks.
Moving on. We will
21.
Exactly. But if you're going to heckle, be creative and entertain me. Yeah. Coming up, Shannon is back, so that means the Salty Shakedown is back. We will do that next. We'll let you know what happened on this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Coming up just after the top of the hour, our resident NFL draft Nick. I guess that's what you call, like a beatnik, a draft Nick. Mr. Tanner Carlson will step into the studio. His thoughts on the national championship game last night that gave the title to a Texas team for the first time since Texas Western, also now known as UTEP. They did that in 1966 historically. The title is back in Texas where it belongs. Chris Beard, you're on the clock. We expect you to deliver one real soon. Quick break. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Thank you, John Williams. I didn't read that until we went to break. A middle school teacher threw out the first pitch. Very nice. All right. And Dylan Emery texts me that they got a local school teacher to throw out the first pitch. Thank you, Dylan. Augie Mora, good morning. Anybody else who is in here, if I see your name, I do my best to say hello. John Paul Albert. Now, coffee. Caffeine is the wonder drug that works wonders. Caffeine, because crystal meth is illegal. But Breaking Bad is one fine show. Jaime Correa says the Texas Rangers appear to be in worse shape than the Spurs, and before the season even started, they've thrown in the towel. First game of the season against the Kansas City Royals. Both teams combined for almost 200 pitches in 3 innings. Mind-boggling. Yeah, but, and I mean, the Rangers are expected to not be good this year. But in the case of that game against the Royals, I mean, it was opening day. Hopefully both teams, well, I don't care about Kansas City, but hopefully the Texas Rangers would improve. Let's see. Augie Mora, welcome. Carl Fisher, welcome in, Carl. AD Ibarra, Hector Gomez, Clint Proctor. All right. Welcome back. We missed you. We wouldn't miss you if you were on Facebook Live with us. During the breaks, we hang out with you on Facebook Live. We stream live video on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages. My apology to Dave Ayler. I'm just freaking him out with the level on my microphone. It was all the way up, and I was like, whoa. So right in the middle of talking, I brought it down a little bit, and I saw Dave's going, what the heck is going on? We know he's loud. We know he's a loudmouth, but that's a little bit ridiculous. Chris Duel Show. Yeah, I'm loud. My apologies. Shannon Salty Sweeney is back. Moments away from the Salty Shakedown. And we are on YouTube, are we not? Did I not?
On YouTube. I think you said Facebook Live and maybe he felt left out.
Yeah, Jared Taylor. Sorry, and Jared Taylor is watching on YouTube. Jared, thank you. My bad.
The way it works is it's one stream and then it's distributed. So we see all of the comments from everywhere.
Yes.
If you're joining us via YouTube, thank you for that as well. Because we
Yes. Interesting, before we do this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and the Salty Shakedown, as Shannon mentioned, our poll question today with college hoops over, what is now atop your April sports radar? And because you only get 4 choices that you can put up on Twitter, the choices are the Masters, Major League Baseball, the NFL Draft, and the NBA. We're getting some interesting comments on Twitter. Davis says college baseball, anything beside professional sports. Chris Gonzalez says college softball. baseball, NHL. Speaking of college softball, I just saw this last night and I'm forgetting where. Is it UCLA? There's a college softball player, the niece of Tom Brady.
Yes.
Are you familiar? She is like lighting it up in college softball.
Yeah, we talked about her in the Salty Shakedown a few weeks ago where Tom Brady, I think he retweeted
Yep.
the UCLA when she hit her first homer of the season and said that she is the most athletic Brady in the family, which was very nice and compliment. And I mean, no one's ever been like, wow, Tom Brady is athletic. He's just really good at football. I think that's the difference.
There you go. Tom Madden says, what else is there to watch? Brian says the NHL. Adam says NHL and Champions League. So
if you're in the Austin area and in San Antonio, I know y'all have your what's the team down there called?
San Antonio FC.
Yeah, San Antonio FC. Also Austin FC. Very original names, both of us.
Yes.
The soccer season is kicking off in Austin. I believe that we don't have our first home game until June. But very excited for Austin FC to finally get underway. I'm sure the Austin area and surrounding areas are going to be tuned in for those games. And also, I mean, iHeart is your home for all things Austin FC, and that's a pretty cool partnership to have. So I am very much looking forward to that as well.
As am I.
They get started, I think, on the 17th. So we can get through the Masters and then game one.
And at some point, I do want to talk about Austin FC. A lot of people in San Antonio wanted MLS soccer. So San Antonio soccer fans, of which I am one, a little butthurt over the fact that San Antonio doesn't have one. But we'll get into it, maybe even later in the show. It's amazing. It's like, well, in San Antonio, we like the Dallas Cowboys. We don't go, oh, we should have a team. And we like the Houston Astros. I think Austin FC is cool. I think you can like Austin FC, and you should, and you can still like San Antonio FC in their league, and hopefully someday we'll all be in the same league. And if not, we'll certainly play here and there. So in the U.S. Open tournament, and I'm sure there will be friendlies, and just cooperate and graduate. Everybody should get along. We'll get into that at some point soon. But right now, I'll tell you what we're going to get into. How about this day in sports history? 1952, April 6th, 1952, the 16th U.S. Masters Tournament in Augusta, Georgia. Sam Snead wins his second green jacket by 4 strokes over Jack Burke Jr. See, a lot of people getting ready for the Masters this week. This day in 1958, the 22nd U.S. Masters at Augusta, Arnold Palmer. That guy was pretty good. He wins the first of his 4 Masters titles by 1 stroke over Doug Ford and Fred Hawkins. It would be the first of 7 major titles for Arnold Palmer. April 6, 1980, Gordie Howe completes his record 26th NHL season. Played into his late 40s, Gordie Howe. He was amazing. On this day in 1987, middleweight world boxing champion, about an upset at the time, Sugar Ray Leonard upsets marvelous Marvin Hagler at Caesar's Palace in Paradise, Nevada. That was a cool fight. And finally, on this day in 1991, Argentine soccer star Diego Maradona suspended for 15 months by the Italian league for testing positive for cocaine use. He should have known better, Shannon. It was 1991. Cocaine was so 80s.
Yeah.
Come on.
Where were you, bro?
You should be moving up to crystal meth or crack in the 90s.
Right. We've moved on to less discoverables.
Please, cocaine, the devil's dandruff. All right. That's history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day, April 6, 1944, John Hart, American College Football Hall of Fame quarterback out of Notre Dame. He won the Heisman Trophy in 1964. He was on the roster backing up Len Dawson when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 1970. He was born in Anaheim, California. Born on this day in 1951, pitcher Bert Blyleven, who is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, 2-time World Series champion with the Twins in 79 and 87. He was born in Zeist, the Netherlands. I did not know that. And finally, born on this day in 1978, Tim Hasselbeck, American football player, quarterback, New York Giants, Washington football team, Eagles, Bills, Ravens, Cardinals. He even played with the Berlin Thunder of NFL Europe. But his biggest claim to fame, Tim Hasselbeck, is his wife, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, the delightful panelist on The View. She's so delightful.
She's no longer there.
No, and I think she was last seen on Fox and Friends. I'm not a big Fox and Friends viewer. Is she still, Shannon, on Fox and Friends?
Like morning round table type show that ends up going straight to politics. No thanks.
Well, and plus you and I were busy in the mornings. Yeah. So that's why I miss out on Fox and Friends in the mornings.
Yeah.
So, all right. Elizabeth. So it's Elizabeth's hubby, Tim's birthday, Tim Hasselbeck, born this day in 1978. Those are the sports birthdays. It's been so long since we've had this segment. You've been waiting for it. Gather around the radio. Wake up the kiddies. Here it is, your Salty Shakedown.
And I know because it's been so long, you'll appreciate it even more.
Yes.
Little Salty says, Little Salty Shakedown. We're going to kick things off by roasting Oklahoma, because roasting is exactly what Lincoln Riley seems to have done with his meat, because he shared a picture of 2 giant briskets on his Twitter feed Easter in the evening hours, I guess, for dinner. And it looked so dry. The internet immediately was all over this. The memes are incredible. The driest brisket I've ever. I drank so much water just looking at that photo. And so many people were asking him how dry it was that he then said, "You need to ask Benny Wiley how it was." Who Benny Wiley, of course, the player development director, strength guy for Oklahoma football, who hails from Arlington, Texas. So I guess he felt like, well, he's also from Texas. Lincoln Riley, a Texas guy. And his comment was they were great brisket tacos, which, yeah, I'm sure, because they were doused in barbecue and everything else, so you could taste everything but brisket. I mean, this guy, I don't know if he made the brisket. I can't believe the picture is still up and available for people to go see on his actual profile. Obviously, anything that goes on the internet lives forever in this day and age, but he could at least take it down and pretend like he's learned his lesson. Hopefully, he's not using that to recruit people. Hopefully, this was not an Easter event for guys who were in town and weren't able to get home with their families. And he said, come over and let me just destroy your insides with this awful dry meat that I have for all of you to share on this Easter Sunday. Chris, did you see the picture?
I did. That
and
was
your
some
immediate reaction was
that is some grody biscuit was my brisket. I mean, I would have rather had a biscuit than Lincoln Riley's brisket.
It kind of reminded me of the viral barbecue picture. I think it was out of New York maybe a year ago, where it was like one dry piece of brisket, 2 pickles, and some beans, and they were like, barbecue, and everyone was like, no, that isn't. I mean, come on, bro. You making the state of Texas look bad. You're making OU look bad. You're making yourself look bad here, sir. You should know better. It's okay if you mess up. Pitmasters spend years taking time to perfect their craft. You spent apparently 5 hours too long. I don't know if you left it in over, and I don't know what happened, sir, but I don't. What kind of grill you're using. You need some help, okay? This offseason, you need some help, because you cannot be serving that to players and then expect them to go out and perform. So if you haven't seen that, we'll get that up on the Salty Shakedown post later today. It is quite epic, and I believe he was rightfully roasted for his roasting of meat. Following into the NBA and ESPN, they have parted ways with Mr. Paul Pierce, who is supposed to be named or thought to have been named to the Naismith Hall of Fame this year. I believe it's his first year of eligibility. Woo! He has been fired from ESPN as of yesterday. Now, they have not explicitly said why. Of course, he's made appearances on The Jump and Get Up and a couple of other staple shows for ESPN. A little less and less lately. Not quite sure why that was. Maybe he just isn't as great as the analyst guys they thought he was. He did announce a couple wrong teams winning on one of the recent shows where he was quickly corrected. However, on Friday, he was on Instagram Live in front of a max of 350 live viewers. So all of this over 350 live viewers for his Instagram Live, where he was smoking what seemed to be a little marijuana and
Nothing wrong with
hanging
that.
out with some scantily clad dressed women.
And
Again,
were they
nothing-
strippers?
nothing-
Did we hear those were
They're
strippers?
possibly strippers. And people are saying that it's really because he posted these videos on his own why he got fired, and not, if he had been at a strip club, whatever, and people had taken the pictures of him, that maybe he would still have his job. But I guess because of his judgment call to post this and share this on a live feed, they were not happy with it. Immediately after the announcement of his firing, he took to Twitter, shared a little video of him laughing with the hashtag smile and saying, "Stay tuned. There is much more to come." So I don't know what's next for Paul Pierce other than the potential induction into the Hall of Fame. But is this, I mean, this is kind of the age we're living in, right? Where we tell kids, like, be careful what you post on the internet because it is forever and it could cost you a job you have or a job you're wanting to have. Chris, did you see, is this worthy of a firing for Paul Pierce?
When you look at who fired him, ESPN, parent company Disney, and obviously, if you're going to do a late night video smoking weed with scantily clad strippers, and you work in a work environment, there's a lot of very serious male and female journalists that he works with at ESPN. You got to be careful. And you just said this, Shannon. Depending on where you work, unless you are self-employed and independently wealthy, then people you work with or work for can look at what you put on social media and say, I don't know if smoking weed and strippers in the middle of the night is a good look for ESPN. I kind of get it. Sorry this happened to him. I don't have anything against Paul Pierce, and I know a lot of guys who have either smoked weed and or hung out with strippers, but it's not necessarily a good look, and your company looks at your social media. That should be a lesson to all of us.
Well, and someone says on our Facebook that it was supposed to be a private video that he didn't realize was live. Well, when you're doing an Instagram live, you can see when people join. I'm sure people were commenting and liking and things like that, so you should know better. For as long as it was on, he should have known that it was not live. And someone else says TNT. I don't know that he's not the greatest analyst. And let's be honest, there's no shortage of retired professional athletes that, if one of them does something wrong or they're not that great, it's out with whoever and with the next guy, because people are always retiring. Guys are always kind of looking for what's next. So I don't know that there's necessarily a market for Paul Pierce and a battle for who's going to get him if he does try to stay with the analyst gig. All right, moving on. It is Taco Tuesday, so why not talk death by tacos? And I'm sorry to be such a drag here, but I feel like it needs to be talked about on a Taco Tuesday. In 2019, a man in Fresno, California, took on an amateur taco eating competition for the Fresno Grizzlies, who were playing the Memphis Redbirds, a minor league baseball team. And in between innings, they had a taco eating contest. And the man choked and died. He choked, hit his head on the table, fell backwards, and eventually died. They never fully announced, but they did say, hey, this guy had tacos all in his breath. He couldn't breathe. He died by choking on tacos. So the 18-year-old son of this 41-year-old man and his family are now suing the Fresno Sports and the Grizzlies ownership for saying, hey, you didn't make us aware of the potential outcomes, the potential harm that this contest could have on these amateurs, right? Because professionals, they prep their bodies to go through these whatever eating contests they have. I don't know I'm assuming they were crunchy tacos, which again, that's like being stabbed down the throat, I would think, if you're, dousing that many down your face. But they're now suing, claiming they should have been warned. I don't know. I feel like if you're going into an eating contest, you should know that what you're getting yourself into. I don't know if they had to sign anything at all to join. I don't know the details of that, but Chris, your thoughts on a death by taco? And now we're trying to get some money out of this because my father didn't know that you could die eating tacos.
Ain't that America? Well, let's sue when we can sue. And we've had this discussion before, Shannon. I think all eating contests, that 4th of July hot dog eating. It's all gross.
There's only
It's
40 people that watch
Yeah.
this taco eating contest
it's-
in minor league baseball.
just say no to all and let's find another way to celebrate the 4th of July than the hot dog eating contest. It's gluttony, it's gross, it's ridiculous, it's sick, it's not a sport. So I feel sad that this man died and his family lost a dad at 41, but God, just think before you do stupid things like this.
Yeah, certainly sad. I don't know how strong the case is. Because again, I don't know how they selected these people to participate in this contest. But it's certainly sad and definitely one of the stranger sports stories in the world today. And with that, we conclude today's Salty Shakedown.
Yeah, I once heard a story, and again, I think a good attorney can win money against a corporation in that case. If you had a contest and you had people stuffing, in this case, tacos down their gullet. I heard a story once, a radio station like challenged a woman to win tickets to something. And this is, I mean, you hear this and you go, how did was this allowed to happen? She had to like come in and like guzzle like gallons of water to win tickets to see. She drowned. She like oversaturated her body with water too quickly, and it was actually she like came into the studio of a radio station to do this as a stunt. Great idea, talk show host or DJ, and wound up dying. So yeah, there you go. Be careful, Shannon, with that.
I know.
Shannon has a big old jug of water.
I've now been instructed to drink obscene amounts of water.
Don't
each day.
guzzle.
For me, I think it's like for regular people, it's like nothing. But I take one sip of anything and I immediately have to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, you don't know, I can't just I'm on the radio. I can't just get up and go whenever I want to. I have to wait. And now I have like my water bottle. I'm one of those people that now has a giant water bottle. That's my best friend. It has a handle on it and everything.
I'm a big believer in hydration. Drink water, hydrate, especially in Texas now that it's getting hot again.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I'm just not excited about it.
I know. Well, that was an outstanding Salty Shakedown, Shannon. It's been a long time coming.
I know it.
We went through a long Salty Shakedown drought.
Happy to be back.
And you certainly lived up to the billing. That was outstanding.
Thank you.
Woo! Paul Pierce. Come on.
And you know who I first saw that Lincoln Riley photo from was Mr. Tanner Carlson.
Whoa!
He was one of the first. He was quick to act. I guess he follows Lincoln Riley. As y'all know, I don't follow the enemy.
See,
I check in on the enemy. I keep tabs on the enemy, but I do not follow the enemy.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I follow the enemy. And I follow OJ. And I follow Johnny Manziel, who Tanner Carlson attacked not long ago on Twitter. Yeah. Tanner, good segue. Tanner's going to join us in studio. He is our resident NFL draft Nick. What does he think of the Sam Darnold move? Who does he have going to the Dallas Cowboys? We're just a few days from the draft. It's later in April. Don't go anywhere. Big 8 o'clock hour a-coming. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Beth Settle. Do I want my final blast of coffee? Armando Salinas, good morning. Yeah, Armando, that's the way I felt. You know, I'm not a big Baylor fan at all, but they're from Texas. And my niece, Taylor, went to Baylor. I got friends who went to Baylor. Would have rather the Longhorns had won it. I would have rather Texas Tech won it over Baylor. Texas Tech is cool, but Baylor did it. Good on them. And Drew Timme is a hot dog. I'll be right back. I do believe. Do I have any coffee left in my Strato tanker? I think I do. Final coffee blast of the morning. They have coffee makers here, but I bring in my own coffee because I'm a coffee snob. Or for those of you who are alive in the 80s, I'm a coffee achiever. Remember those commercials with Ken Anderson of the Cincinnati Bengals? Be a coffee achiever. Yeah, be just jittery on coffee. There you go, Clint Proctor. Timma. Well, I go, Timma. You spell it your way, Thomas. I'll spell it my way. Either way. True Timmy ain't all that.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
go search Brandon Marshall on Twitter.
Brandon Marshall. All right. I was going to go on a coffee run, but now you got me.
All right.
You
It's a
got me all
45-second
serious.
video. You
Brandon Marshall. Click. Now, sadly, I'm not getting sound here. Let me unmute that. You talking about the video?
Yeah, he's trending. He's #1 trending right now for this video.
And I'm telling you, it's the truth. No, they don't. Not everybody that's on the NBA roster. Like, no one cares. Two-way contracts. There's two-way contracts. And then there's the top dog. There's the top dog. No, it's not. There's 4 guys on the NBA team that got guaranteed contracts, and everybody else will be cut today. They don't got nothing. You know, and man down. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. So who has a better structure, the NBA and NFL? Everything y'all saying is wrong game. And now you finally got the Russell Wilson of the world finally saying stuff.
Wow.
Because I'm talking about the NBA, yeah, everybody got guaranteed contracts, and it's false. They don't.
Amazing. All right. Do I have time? I do.
No salt, John. And a straw. I want a straw for every single one of my drinks. Better not be paper.
How about you?
Yeah, we had some family coming to town, and a family friend came along, and she'd never been to Texas before. So
Oh,
we
wow.
had to do all the tours. I was tour guide.
Oh, cool.
Did the Alamo, and Riverwalk thing. So it's always kind of nice to hash that out again.
Yeah.
But what was weird was, she had no interest in like touring the Alamo, like going inside and stuff. I was like, well, if we're gonna be here, you might as well tour it.
Yeah, I don't need to see the history. Just show it to me. I don't need
I
to.
just want to take a picture by it.
I don't need to learn about the fight.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, I can give you a quick synopsis since I only took
Right.
18 years of Texas history.
Yeah.
I teach it to you every year. So, but
Welcome in, Juan.
what a great sports week.
Yeah.
And then continuing with the Masters.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Brian, sorry about your Zags.
Hey, can we have time for you to send it to my personal email?
Yeah, I think so. I gotta hurry. Let's see. Where is it? There's the link. So, okay. Okay, where am I sending it?
All right, Tanner Carlson.
Okay, let me paste it in there. Okay, Tanner Carlson, all spelled out.
Yep, full name.
Okay.
719
719.
at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, my freaking work email is not connected to this phone yet. I'm working on that for about a week now.
Oh, that's right. Your new phone.
Yeah, so it's not letting me.
So I'm assuming you don't have a power issue if you're all charged up.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. Unless you've got some headphones I can plug into these.
Oh God, I just saw. Stunning that I have some.
We might have a good show today.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Don't steal them.
Don't walk out of here with my headphones.
I'll give them back. And you know where to find me.
Juan is just waiting for the NFL draft. Well, we got Mr. NFL Draft in the studio now. Anything else on your mind? Anything you want to talk about? So how's the phone so far? You give it a thumbs up?
Yeah.
Good. With my ever-dying battery, I am being pushed toward making that purchase. Let me get out of that. The 4-screen. So, Shannon, did you want to talk about Brandon Marshall?
Oh, I mean, we don't have to. I just
Okay.
thought you'd like to see why
That was great.
he's trending.
Yeah,
Because I'm no genius on all the contracts, but he's so
my
blatantly wrong. He's just going so hard on it.
Yeah, my understanding has always been NBA contracts are guaranteed and NFL contracts are not. But so I think based on what I know, he's wrong. But
Right.
it is funny. Brandon Marshall is trending. He's on some kind of a show, just totally flipping out over contracts with Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, and somebody else in the room.
Can you really take anything those guys say,
No.
too seriously?
No. And he's arguing while wearing a giant chain. Like, I can't take that seriously.
All right. Oh, I'm going to mute me.
Can I get you to unmute yourself, Chris? I muted.
Ah,
All right.
okay.
Now our viewers.
So that should work. All these mics in here are a little weird. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. In a moment, we'll introduce Tanner Carlson. So, in a nutshell, Shannon, since I brought it up, why is Brandon Marshall trending on Twitter?
Brandon Marshall very passionately and very inaccurately is expressing concern over NBA contracts and whether or not they are guaranteed. It's part of, I guess he's on a podcast with a couple of other guys, and
Chad Ochocinco,
to
one of
promote
them.
their next one, they kind of pulled this out because it is so ridiculous. I mean, he is standing up, screaming, clapping his hands, and the other guys are sitting there like, no, man, no. And he is currently being roasted. So if you see him trending today, he did nothing bad,
Yeah, he's
but he
just
is being roasted because he's very wrong
and
in the
he's
case he's trying to make.
passionately wrong. So, yeah,
Which makes
there's
it so
that.
much better.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Dave Ayler, the soundscape stylist, doing a great job. We love having Tanner Carlson in studio. He is there we go. There's his official, as he was called by his parents, Tan Man the Monkey Man.
Tan Man the Monkey Man.
Tan Man the
That's
Monkey
it.
Man
That's
is here.
it. Yeah. And now it's just taking a life of its own now.
You've got your own official sound.
I had no idea it would
On the show.
ever get this far.
Now, let me ask you before we get into everything else, NFL football draft, the Masters, everything else. Baylor wins the national championship last night. Obviously, you're a Longhorn fan, as is Shannon, as am I. But I like when it came down to it, I like Gonzaga is amazing, an amazing program. I like Mark Few, the coach, a lot. But this was a Texas team. I had to pull for the team from Texas. Were you that way, or as a Longhorn fan, do you go, "Oh, I just hate Baylor and that's it"?
No. I don't hate Baylor. I mean, I've never really disliked Baylor. I know Baylor considers Texas a rival, but I don't think Texas views Baylor as a rival, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of a couple. We're not to sound cocky or anything, but we're like too
They're
high and
beneath
mighty. They're beneath us. We're the big brother, So but Baylor has always kind of had this disdain for Texas. But no, I was definitely rooting. I was all aboard the Baylor train last night and throughout their whole run. Even this whole season, I said they're the best team in the country, them and Gonzaga. And I've said it all along. I had those two in the national championship, as it should have been. Those were the best two teams in the country. They deserved to be in that game, both of them. And, Baylor was just I don't think there was a team in the country playing their best ball at any point in the season that would have beat that Baylor team last night. I mean, it was that good. They were that good. They weren't missing shots. They were shooting 50% from three-pointer in the second half, going into the second half. So they were on fire. Their defense was perfection. And really the thing that stood out to me was, no matter what Gonzaga threw at them, whether that was defensively, offensively, no matter what they had, Baylor had an answer on every single scenario. And for as good as that Gonzaga team was, I don't think that they had played a team as physical nor athletic as that Baylor team. And it showed last night. And so kudos to both of those programs. They had a great season. And I think those are, if Gonzaga wins that game, they're probably considered one of the greatest teams of all time.
Yeah.
And so I think now that Baylor wins that game, I think you now have to consider Baylor as one of the greatest teams of all time.
Yeah. And I think one of the differences, maybe you look at the crucible that Baylor had to go through in the Big 12 this year. The Big 12 was just insane from a competition and a talent standpoint. And I noticed overnight and after the fact now, a lot of people kind of slamming Gonzaga, pointing out Pepperdine and some of these teams, St. Mary's, some of these teams that are on their schedule.
I don't agree with that. If it was so easy, why don't they go undefeated every year?
True.
That's my whole, when it comes to like these teams like UCF, like we see in college football, like when they say, well, Cincinnati doesn't play that hard of a schedule. Well, then why don't they do it every year? Why don't they go undefeated every single season? Why aren't they a 1 seed every single season? This is a special team with a special group of guys, and they had their top recruit that they've ever had go to that school and Jalen Suggs, and it paid off, and they were one of the best teams in the country. And it's not like they didn't play a good UCLA team. It's not like they didn't play good teams throughout. Throughout the tournament, and they still beat them and whooped them. A lot of those games weren't close, with the exception of the Final Four and then obviously the national championship.
All right, so now we move on, and it's our poll question today, and I'm going to throw it out to you. I think we know the answer, Shannon, from this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he may surprise us with the Masters. Now that hoops is over, college hoops is over, what's on your radar now for sports for April? Is it the Masters? Is it the NFL draft? Is it Major League Baseball, or is it the NBA? What is top of your radar? And I won't even say for April. I'll say right now,
Okay.
What's on Tanner Carlson's radar?
Right now, it's the Masters, and it will always be the Masters. The Masters week will always come first and foremost. And the crazy thing is, if Masters week fell on the NFL draft, which I pray that never happens, I would choose the Masters over the NFL draft.
Oh, my God.
Just because it's that special of an event. It
Okay.
really is. It's up there with the Super Bowl. It's up there with March Madness. And so I'm glad it doesn't fall on the same week. Then I can focus on each one separately. But yeah, it's that by far the Masters right now. And then obviously in a few weeks at the end of the month, we're gonna really dive deep into the NFL draft, and I'll be completely entrenched with any and all things NFL draft.
So who are you pulling for in the Masters? Can Jordan Spieth continue the magic 2 weeks in a row?
I think he lands in the top 10. I think he's in the running. I think he's in the running by Sunday. I think he's going to be pushing for that on the leaderboard. He's played too well for a decent stretch. In the last 2 months, he's finished in the top 5 multiple times. He got his first win finally last weekend right here in San Antonio. So that was super cool. So yeah, I'm going to be rooting for Spieth all the way. I don't know. Everyone says that and it went even a couple months back when I think Dustin Johnson's going to have a chance to repeat as well, back-to-back Masters champion. But everyone talks about DeChambeau breaking the course. He can outshoot the course. Well, no one can it's too technical of a course to just power through it. And we saw that the last time. So I think if DeChambeau kind of slows his roll a little bit, he's a great golfer without having to use his strength and his power. I think if he just slows his roll and mentally prepares for what the Masters brings, then I think he has a good shot and a good running at it. But I'm pulling for Spieth. I think he goes back to back. I'm going to call my shot now.
Nice.
I'm saying Spieth goes back to back and wins his second Masters.
That would be cool. Shannon, who are you pulling for in the Masters, and who do you think will win it?
I'm always going to pull for Spieth, and I do think he has, like Tanner said, he's probably going to be in the top 10, and even, he's peaking at the right moments, and he just always seems to perform well at the Masters, no matter how he's performing on the rest of the courses throughout the rest of the season. I'd like to see my guy Matt Wolff perform well. I don't know that I have a clear winner yet. I've been a little out of things, so I need to look at the field and kind of gauge based on that. Dustin Johnson winning. I almost want him to win again just because he didn't get to do like the big tour you typically do after you win the Masters, right? You get the jacket and then you go on all the late night shows. And you have all your appearances and you go to these things where you get to wear your jacket because, of course, after your year of having the jacket, you then have to return it. So it stays in Augusta and it only ever gets taken out for, the green jacket dinner and the awarding of the next jacket to the next winner. So I feel bad that he had such a short window to live as Masters champion.
That might be a good question for Andy Everett, and because I don't know the answer, maybe Shannon knows. But what does Dustin Johnson have to give it? I mean, I know he has it forever, but I'm assuming he has to give up the crown in only 2 or 3 months. I didn't really think about that. I didn't really think about that.
If you're him, you're probably like, I won the Masters. That doesn't go away.
Right.
But it's your shortest run to be able to enjoy
to be
it.
The defending champion of the Masters is only 3 months. I mean, we just had it not that long ago.
That's true.
He's so competitive. I don't think he sits back and sits on a victory. I think he's always going to want whatever's next. So for him, I think he's more focused on what's happening this week rather than what happened back in November.
Well, and it's interesting. You had Dustin Johnson opt out of the Texas Open, and you had Jordan Spieth win it. I talked to Andy about this on Monday. If Jordan Spieth wins it, might this in future, the Valero Texas Open a week before the Masters, might this inspire other golfers to say, hey, this might be a template for being successful at the Masters? Go play the Valero Texas Open. Do you think that could have an impact, or am I just out of my mind?
No, I think it's a valid point. I kind of made the point of this is a great opportunity for guys to kind of get their swing right. And, if they don't play necessarily well, it's not the end of the world. It is the week before the Masters. So it's kind of a good tournament for these big name guys to kind of work out any kinks and to play an actual tournament and not have that much pressure, in terms of having it being a major, you know what I mean? So I think it would be it would validate your point of these guys kind of working out some kinks and working off maybe a little bit of rust or just trying to work on their game, whatever they're having issues with at that point in time, to come here to San Antonio and work those out and prepare, kind of get ready for the Masters, a little bit of a warm-up tournament, if you will. Not to downplay the Valero Texas Open, but you know what I mean? Just I think it would make perfect sense.
Now, the two of you clearly are all geeked up about the Masters. What I was wondering was, and I'm not as hardcore of a golf fan as the two of you are, but whenever Tiger Woods would play and was contending, I would tune in. I'm probably like the majority of America that, a Tiger would drive my viewership. Right. This is, in a sense, if Tiger never comes back from this accident, this is like the first post-Tiger era Masters. I mean, we hope, and it would be an amazing story if Tiger comes back and plays on the professional tour again after this accident. But knowing now that Tiger might not play another Masters, much less the Masters, any other PGA event, I mean, does this change how we feel about this Masters at all? No, is there a void, I guess is what I'm getting at, knowing that there's no Tiger not on the course and there's no Tiger hanging out on TV as an analyst?
Yeah, I do think there is going to be some type of a void, and I don't think they do the big tribute thing like we saw right immediately after his wreck. I don't know if players start wearing red on Sundays or whatever, but I do think there is going to be a void there, obviously, and it's going to be talked about. You can't talk about the Masters at any point and not mention Tiger Woods. Yeah. He's had so many historically significant moments on that course throughout his career that kind of defined golf. And, that everyone knows the long putt with the Nike symbol just barely trickling into the hole, and, crowd, everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, that's Tiger. You link it to the Masters. So I think, of course, there's a void, but I don't think it deters or distracts or takes away from viewership. I think must-watch golf. And I know I'm a little biased because he's my guy, but Spieth, you put a microphone around that guy, and you're going to get some of the best TV you're going to get in golf. Sit. Him and his caddy just continually, everything that's in Spieth's brain comes out of his mouth. And you don't really get that from a lot of golfers, especially a guy like Dustin Johnson or Brooks Koepka. They're very subdued to themselves. They're a stone poker face. They don't let their emotions show. Whereas Spieth is the exact opposite, very Tiger-like in terms of outspoken. You know exactly how he's feeling and how he's playing just by looking at him.
If this was the year after Tiger had won the Masters, I think there would feel like there's much more of a void.
Yeah.
Because he had just done it.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're 2 years removed now, we do have another Masters champion in Dustin Johnson. I don't. For me, it's not going to feel like we're missing somebody. I think the field is super competitive. People are like, "Oh, the leaderboard is wide open now." Well, I don't know realistically that Tiger would have been in contention.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So as far as numbers go, as far as other people tuning in, you probably aren't going to get the ratings that you got when he did win his last jacket. But I would imagine they're still very high. Considering that we're still where we are in the pandemic and we are coming off a big basketball weekend, and people are looking for what's next. What are they gonna watch next? And this is kind of the next big thing before they really have to choose between what they're gonna watch before the Olympics get here.
Yeah, and Olympics or regular season baseball. That's what you're gonna get for the summer.
Right. Well, the next big thing after this big thing later in April, the NFL draft. Yeah, since I have you here, Tanner. First of all, Sam Darnold trade. Jets sending Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers. Your thoughts on that, and your thoughts on who the Jets draft to replace Sam Darnold?
Well, it's going to be a quarterback. Yeah. So, it should be anyway, or else they're going to desperately screw this thing up if they don't get a quarterback at number 2.
They are the Jets.
You're right. You're right. I wouldn't put it past them. I would assume Zach Wilson. Okay. I could only, if you ever get the name Aaron Rodgers in a comparison, even if it's just for certain qualities or aspects or anything, abilities that you have, if you have a percentage of Aaron Rodgers in you, and a GM says that about you, that team should probably take you, So I think he will go number 2, right behind Lawrence. And then San Fran probably also get a quarterback. I've heard some weird things with San Fran. In terms of Mac Jones, a possibility. And
I'm hearing they like Mac Jones a lot.
Think that would be a disrupt. I think that's terrible. I think that would be a horrible, horrible pick. I'm not saying that he's not great. He's going to be a top 10 guy, but I think he's a top 10 guy because he's a quarterback, and simply only because he's a quarterback. I don't think that he's going to change a franchise. I don't think you draft him and like, oh, we got our guy. He's going to change our franchise, and we're going to be in the playoffs every single year competing for a Super Bowl. But in terms of the Sam Darnold thing with Carolina, I think it makes their team a lot better. I think he's an upgrade from Teddy Bridgewater. And I like Matt Rule as a coach. I think he has the right message and the right culture in that team. And now you finally have some weapons. McCaffrey is the best weapon that Darnold has ever had in his entire career. And if McCaffrey's healthy, you throw in a little bit of DJ Moore, and he's got a decent amount of weapons to kind of work with. And then you start working on that defense. If it doesn't work out here, it's not going to work for Darnold. Is basically,
yeah, this is his last best chance.
And I think this is his last season to prove something. I don't think he gets 2 seasons at Carolina to say, oh, it was just a learning curve. I don't think you get that. I think it has to pay off in terms of more wins. You've got to probably get 7, 8, 9 wins this season if you're Sam Darnold, if you want to even have a chance or an opportunity to become the starter or stay the starter at Carolina next year.
I was surprised by what Carolina gave up for him.
Yeah.
3 draft picks over the next 2 years, a second, a 4, and a 6.
A 6 for this year.
Yeah, and then a 2 and a 4 for next year.
year.
Those, I was telling Shannon, you could probably hit two out of 3 really, really good players with those draft picks over the next 2 years. I think that's a lot. I think the Jets probably got the best they were going to get for him.
I think so. And I also think, when you look, and you got to look at it this way too, is you were as a Carolina Panther fan or a Carolina Panther, follower, if you look at it this way, it kind of makes a little bit more sense for you as well, because you essentially drafted your starting quarterback for this season using a 2nd-round pick next year.
Ooh, okay.
So you're kind of getting him for nothing this year. This is kind of this year, if he does something big for you this year, you can either look at it one of 2 ways. You either look at it as, I drafted my starting quarterback in the 6th round this year, and he won us 8 to 9 games if he does well. Or you can look at it as, we kind of got him for free this year, and we're going to pay for it in a 2nd-round pick next year. That's kind of how I have to, because that's how I did it with the Cowboys draft. The Cowboys selected Amari Cooper with the first pick in the 2019 draft instead of not having a draft at all.
Right.
And whatever you trade for him, that's kind of what you're using your draft for. And so if you look at it that way, I think it's a pretty fair deal. Sam got out of the Jets situation, which was awful for him, and got away from Adam Gase, which no one needs to be a part of that fiasco. And, now he's kind of got a fresh start. He doesn't have a fan base as ruthless. I don't think he has nearly as much pressure on him. I think he can kind of relax and finally play some football.
But Shannon, if you're Zach Wilson of BYU, I mean, there is no indication, if the Jets are targeting you, there is no indication that your life with the Jets is going to be any better than Sam Darnold's life with the Jets. That's such a dysfunctional franchise.
Yeah, it's almost like Joe Burrow, destined for Cincinnati. You're going to an organization that historically is not very well run, doesn't really care about the players and the actual program, more about the bottom line and where that comes from. So I almost feel bad for the kid, but at the end of the day, you're still going to the NFL, and it is what you're going to make it for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and when you really look at it, every team now, there are some exceptions to the rule. Like there's some organizations like the Colts that can build an organization that were just down for a couple years when they got Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. They were just down for a period of time, but they're a decent organization and decent franchise where they at least know how to build a team.
Yeah.
But you see situations like Cleveland where that quarterback Baker Mayfield is going to go to a historically bad team, but if you are a good enough player, you can overcome those deficiencies. Not to say Baker is an all pro Hall of Fame type caliber player, but he has done the best job of any quarterback the Browns have had in the last 50 years in terms of taking them to the playoffs, having them be a consistently winning team. And we'll see this year what he does there too. But if you are a quarterback, I would take that just like Baker did going to Cleveland. Like I'm going to be known as the guy who turns this franchise around. And I think that's Burrow's mindset. And I think that has to be Wilson's mindset, along with Trevor Lawrence as well in Jacksonville, because they've never really put anything together either.
Before we run out of time, Dallas Cowboys, you are constantly doing mock drafts. You're analyzing who the Cowboys might grab. Any change on your position? And for people who might be tuning in, hearing you for the first time, who do you see going to the Cowboys at number 10?
I think it's inevitable that they go Patrick Surtain. I mean, all signs are kind of pointing towards the Alabama corner, which has kind of been more recently. I've heard a little bit more murmurs at linebacker in terms of Micah Parsons or even Zaven Collins from Tulsa. I really like him, but he's kind of more of an outside guy anyway. I wouldn't necessarily be thrilled. I mean, I'm okay with getting a linebacker because there is uncertainty at that position, but not at 10. I think there's plenty of talent later on, second, third round. You can get a linebacker who can contribute. The guy I like a lot in the second round, if you're going to go linebacker, then LSU linebacker Jabril Cox. I think he's a decent player. You might be able to get the Missouri guy, Bolton, at 44. I think you go corner first. And then if you do want to address linebacker, because it is uncertain, you have no idea what Jalen Smith's going to bring you next year. And if he has another year that repeats what we saw this last season, he's gone. You're cutting him or releasing him or trading him or whatever value he has. And then you have no idea, absolutely none with Van Der Esch and his health. If he's healthy and he's playing at 100%, you've got an all-pro caliber linebacker. But we've said that about Sean Lee, and Sean Lee's still on the roster as well, and his age and his unknown in terms of retiring. And if he plays too many snaps, he will snap something on his body. So, I mean, he'll get hurt too. So you kind of a lot of question marks at linebacker, which I definitely think needs to be a position that the Cowboys need to address in the draft. I just don't know if it's a 10.
Yeah, the glaring that whole defense is god awful, but the glaring deficiency has been the secondary. So right. I think if Surtain is sitting there, maybe you grab him. Tanner Carlson is a great follow on Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20. We bring him in here when he's available on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm sure it'll be opening round of the Masters on Thursday, right?
A lot of Masters talk coming up probably for Thursday, although we won't really know anything about the Masters. Nothing will really have been gotten started yet on Thursday. But
you and Shannon, your fever pitch will be about ready to explode on Thursday.
Exactly.
So that'll be cool. Tanner, always outstanding, sir. Enjoy your week. And your sound effects. Thank you.
That last one kind of shocked me.
Me too.
I didn't really know what was going on there. Yeah. I kind of forgot about it.
What just walked in here? Thank you, Dave Ayler. Tanner at Tanner Carlson 20 on Twitter. Quick break. More coming up with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Dave Ayler, and me, Chris Duel. With you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! Outstanding, sir.
Here is your headphones.
Oh, thank you. I would have forgotten. You could have walked out with them, and I would have forgotten.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
You have to run today?
I sort of, but I can stick around.
Okay. Can Dave stick around too? A little post show.
Can who?
Can Dave also stick around? We have
that I don't know. Let me ask him. Thanks, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Shannon wants to know if after the show you can stick around for a couple of minutes on StreamYard to have a little round table.
Yeah. As long as it's not too late, I got to get back to OAI at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, just like 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be brief.
Bet.
Oh, that's loud. That is so loud. John Williams, I don't have any Baileys for my coffee, but that's a good idea. What did you send me on ESPN? Wow. Yeah, that's John, I'm looking at what you sent me. It's the crowd at the Rangers Globe Life Field. Sure doesn't look like a pandemic crowd, does it? As much as I love to see people at the ballpark like that, I think we're being a little too to pack in fans like that, even wearing masks. I think it's a little too overzealous with all of this talk about new strains and a fourth wave of the pandemic. Alan Green is with me on that. Thank you, Alan. I heard a story this morning on national radio, and I was going to try to run it down, and maybe I will for tomorrow's show. But they say one of the biggest spreaders right now of coronavirus is youth sports because kids are not getting vaccinated. Adults are. So a lot of the spread is happening child to child. And apparently, and this is from the CDC, apparently youth sports is an issue. I heard that as I was getting ready to go out the door this morning and meant to run that story down, but didn't get a chance. So I'll try to do that for tomorrow. Yeah, Armando, I'm with you as well on the crowds. See what else is happening. Here we come. Chris Duel Show. Music provided by soundscape stylist Dave Ayler. Shannon Salty Sweeney is back and on board. And as you rock us into this segment, Dave, I see in some of your show prep from this morning, there was a bracket of rock and roll bands done by loudwire.com. So Shannon, Baylor may have won the men's basketball tournament. Stanford may have won the ladies. But in the final of rock and roll bands, it was Led Zeppelin versus Metallica in the national championship, according to this bracket. And your greatest band, according to this, is Led Zeppelin. Do you agree with that, Dave Ayler, being a big music guy?
I'd say they're in the top 5. I don't know if they're number 1.
I've heard the two bands, obviously, and I know a couple of their songs, but if you were to play some of their songs and play Zeppelin or whatever the other one was, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
And Led Zeppelin beat out the band you just heard for the to get in the final.
Yes.
Black Sabbath.
Very nice. You're right. They went through Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Black Sabbath.
It's all just a bunch of screaming long-haired old men, in my opinion.
Black Sabbath invented a whole genre of music called heavy metal.
So Black Sabbath,
Before Black Sabbath, there was nothing.
it was like the Big Bang. There was nothing, and then there was a Big Bang, and now we've got this
Big
universe.
bang of rock and roll.
So, and I hate, Dave Ayler, Dave Shannon, as you know, works over at 1200 WOAI, so he gets all of this show prep for the morning news, and he's kind enough to send some of it our way. So thanks to this, and I'm showing on Facebook Live
Where's
some of this.
mine, Dave?
Exactly, Dave. So now we know that today is National Hostess Twinkie Day. I did not know that. Yeah. Those are just, I hear those are like, speaking of death, those are just bad for you.
I like the cupcakes are like, oh, okay, but I've never gone out.
No. See, I don't know that I know what I don't know what a zebra cake is.
I think they're little Debbie snacks.
Oh,
I don't think
I know what
they're,
you're talking
they're
about.
not Hostess, and they switch them up. Like they'll do Christmas trees around the holiday season.
Okay.
Different versions. Those I can mess with, and they're not good for you either. I haven't had one in years. Now I want one, but the Twinkies, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think they're saying you're muted
Let
on.
me unmute myself.
There you go. The only time I would eat something like a Hostess Twinkie, if I'm on a long drive and you pull into a gas station, they got like nothing there, but you're starving, and okay, there's some Twinkies. Give me some of those for a
There's
quick
so many other
sugar
options.
fix.
There's a reason there's always a Twinkie available because no one's really like. Isn't every Twinkie on Earth expired?
I think so.
Like they just kind of live forever.
Yeah. They were invented in 1930. For those of you who care. 2 other days. Today is National Caramel or Caramel Popcorn Day. I don't know that I've ever had caramel popcorn.
You want something stuck in your teeth?
Yeah.
That's the one.
You've never had Cracker Jack?
Oh, I've had Cracker Jack.
Oh,
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's caramel
So
popcorn.
that's okay.
Just with peanuts in it,
So why don't they say this is National Cracker Jack Day?
because Cracker Jack has peanuts in it.
Okay, but see, it would make baseballs underway. So I'm sure there is a National Cracker Jack Day. There's a National Everything Day. And finally, just to bring you down, and speaking of death, today is Plan Your Epitaph Day. What do you want on your tombstone? I'm going to be cremated, so I'm not going to have a tombstone. So there you have it.
She died as she lived.
Yeah,
Salty.
exactly. I like it. She died as she lived. Salty. Very good. Yeah, we should have done that. We should have actually come up with creative epitaphs.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I've never thought about if I want to be buried or cremated. There's only so much earth.
Exactly. And
know?
in 100 years from now, nobody's going to know us anyway. So why
Right.
take up the real estate?
They're gonna pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yeah, and I have no kids, so it's not there's no little
No one
Chris
wants to
going,
hear-
oh, that's where my dad's buried. There's not going to be any of that. So yeah,
What about all your adoring fans?
like two, my wife, my mom. I think they'll get over it.
Okay.
They can split the ashes. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's a little bit of a downer. But you got to think of those things. Not necessarily an epitaph, but you got to think about.
Interesting that we celebrate Twinkies on that same day.
One thing leads to another.
You could bury the Twinkie. Like if someone loved Twinkies, you could bury them with Twinkies because they would never.
Yeah, exactly. They will dig them up in 3 centuries and they'll go, what are these packaged little food snacks?
Little time capsules. They're shaped like them.
Yes. And they led to the downfall of mankind. Speaking of downfall, Shannon, since you've been gone, we are now up to 22 allegations against Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. And since you've been gone, the Houston Police Department has now officially launched an investigation. So this ugly story is getting uglier, and it could get a whole lot uglier for Deshaun Watson. We'll see what happens next.
I had some family in town for the holiday, and they are from Houston, and they are done with him.
Oh, man.
As
Well-
I think the rest of Houston is as well.
Well, and plus, here you had him wanting to leave. It was like almost at that time when,
They're like, okay, get from me.
yeah. I mean, obviously in San Antonio, we got the Kawhi. When we learned Kawhi wanted to leave, it's like, really? You don't want us? Well, we don't want you. But now with all of this with Deshaun Watson, God, and I loved this last week as well. Rusty Hardin, who is Deshaun Watson's attorney, he rolled out statements from 18 women who did give Deshaun Watson massages and nothing bad happened. So they said, oh, yeah, I gave him a massage and he was just delightful. That's,
The Night Stalker didn't do all the murders that
Yeah.
he wanted to.
yeah, here are 18 people the Night Stalker did not murder. Hi, I'm Chris. The Night Stalker never murdered me. He was delightful.
He did come into my house.
Yeah.
I just wasn't home.
So that what a crap, stupid defense. But I guess, I mean,
what else do you have right now?
yeah, Rusty Hardin is a very renowned and rich attorney. So I guess he knows what he's doing. God, that's ugly. Just ugly.
Teddy Bridgewater to the Texans?
Ooh,
Teddy, Tyrod?
ooh. The Teddy and Tyrod show. I like that.
Personal backups.
I feel so bad for Teddy Bridgewater. He had that horrible injury that almost, I think it was almost like one of those Alex Smith things. It could have been life-threatening. Yes. So he was killing it for the Vikings. He was the next big thing. Has that devastating injury. He's out like over a year for that injury. Comes back. He's really not the same. Then he gets an opportunity with the Saints. What does he do? Win every game. So then he goes to Carolina, new coach. You're thinking new chance to start all over again, and they've got no love for him there. And now he's after they get Sam Darnold yesterday. It looks like the Carolina Panthers are going to cut him free. I hope Teddy Bridgewater lands somewhere and is very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And why not Houston?
Why not? Well, we can think of a couple of reasons why not. But yes, if he can't make it back to the Saints, I wouldn't mind seeing him in Texas somewhere.
And again, I do think, especially because he did so well with the Saints and he knows that system. If you're Sean Payton, you're stupid if you're not picking up the phone, trying to check his availability. I do believe. I did not get into this with you, Shannon. North Carolina, probably not surprising, but I think a good move for them. Hubert Davis, who was an assistant to Roy Williams the last 9 years. He played at North Carolina under Dean Smith, so he obviously is in the family. He's got North Carolina Tar Heel blue in his blood. I think that's a good choice for North Carolina. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. Now, question to you: being the year that it was for North Carolina, considerably underachieved, COVID, whatever, it wasn't their standard. Does that now kind of help to lower those expectations now that we are kind of starting this next era for them without Roy Williams? Or are people still like, no, we're going to be back to where we've been the past decade and a half?
That's a great question. And it,
Well,
on a
there's some
certain
acceptance.
level, yeah, anything Hubert Davis does, you make it. Had Roy Williams led them to the Final Four or to the title this year, and then, oh, I'm retiring. All right, Hubert Davis, good luck with that. See, it probably does help, Shannon, since you put it that way, that they were a little down. If he can just get them back to winning consistently and back into the tournament in his first season, this coming season, that'll be a win for Hubert Davis.
I would think so.
Yeah. I had heard some people were even speculating, but the guy's been at Gonzaga forever, Mark Few, that a move for him might have been, win the championship last night for Gonzaga, go undefeated, and then make a leap to a blue blood. And, until yesterday, North Carolina was open. Some people even saying that might be a move for him for North Carolina. But you look at Mark Few, I mean, he was there as an assistant coach forever before he became a head coach. It looks like he's a lifer to me at Gonzaga. And I saw his interview last night. He was so crestfallen. I mean, this dude has built Gonzaga into something very, very, very special in Spokane, Washington. As much as I was pulling for the Texas team, Baylor, and as much as I'm not a big fan of Drew Timme, I do like their head coach, Mark Few, and I feel bad that he didn't get his championship last night.
You feel bad? You really do?
I do. I feel bad.
Feel bad for him?
I feel bad for
Alone?
him. Just him.
He did look really defeated.
Yeah. I mean, they thought, yeah. They thought it was theirs.
It was like, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. All right, we do have a poll question now that basketball is over, or college basketball is over. We got a thing called the NBA that is still around. Shannon, how does the polling look at this moment as we prepare to mosey on out?
Yeah, we're asking with college hoops over, what is atop your April sports radar? Masters currently leading the way, 38.9% NFL draft, following at 30%. MLB taking third place over with 19%, and the NBA just 11%. NBA doesn't really get interesting till the playoffs, does it? Compared to college basketball, in my opinion.
True. And it's
people's opinion these days.
And coming right out of the NCAA tournament to then try to gear up for NBA in a big way when the playoffs aren't here yet. Yeah. But yeah, once playoff time comes, I'm all in. Woo. And of course, the Spurs are going to turn it all around on the road now, right? Correct?
Sure.
Thank you. You and your Mavericks. All right, Shannon, welcome back. We'll do this again tomorrow. We'll do this again in 21 hours. Dave Ayler, great job. We'll see you later in the week, I think, right?
Yes, I'll be back on Thursday.
We'll see you on Thursday. Our thanks to Tanner Carlson as well. Tomorrow, speaking of the Spurs, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening, at 8:06 tomorrow morning. Until then, enjoy your Taco Tuesday, but do not get into a taco eating contest. We learned that today from the Salty Shakedown. For Shannon Salty Sweeney, for Dave Ayler, have yourself a great afternoon. Once it gets here, have yourself a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.